Hello and good evening. Welcome to World Today, a show on DD India which brings you the daily wrap of what's happening in India and the world. I'm Anil Thomas, and on this show tonight, the latest, especially when it comes to UNSC and India taking over that presidency. Lots to look forward to also from Tokyo Olympics. But first up, let's begin with the top headlines. India's permanent representative to UN, T.S. Tirumurthy, highlights the areas to be focused. Says the Security Council will focus on three major areas: maritime security, peacekeeping and counter-terrorism. Also says Council is closely following peace talks which will hopefully yield results. The United States blames Iran for a deadly attack on an Israeli-linked tanker, vows to lead a collective response in retaliation. Tehran denies blame and warns against any adventurism by the United States. %70% of American adults receive at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine, while Germany to start offering COVID-19 booster shots from September, also to make it easier for 12 to 17-year-olds to get a jab amid concerns about the spread of the Delta variant. In Olympics, men's hockey team lose to Belgium 2-5 in the semi-final. Team now to play for bronze. Prime Minister hails the performance of the team. In wrestling, Sonam Malik loses to Mongolian wrestler. Well, those were the big stories on World Today. Let's now begin with the big news. Well, the big story there from UNSC. What does it mean for India? Let's now take a look at this detailed package on how India got this UNSC post when it comes to the presidency. It's for a period of a month. Let's take a look at this detailed report.
Assuming the rotating presidency of the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, Indian Ambassador T.S. Tirumurthy highlighted the areas to be focused. He said the Security Council will focus on three major areas: maritime security, peacekeeping and terrorism.
There are three major areas which we will focus on in August: maritime security, peacekeeping and counter-terrorism. While maritime security has been discussed in the Security Council in the past, and a few resolutions have been adopted on select aspects of maritime security and crime, we feel that it is time that the various dimensions of maritime security and crime are discussed in a holistic manner and addressed through international cooperation.
T.S. Tirumurthy also said an open debate on maritime security will be held via video conference on 9th of August, which will be chaired by the Prime Minister of India.
In 2015, the Prime Minister of India put forward the initiative of SAGAR, an acronym for Security and Growth for All in the region, that encourages states to conserve and sustainably use the oceans and to make meaningful efforts to create a safe, secure and stable maritime domain. We plan to hold a virtual high-level open debate on maritime security on the 9th of August. This will be chaired by the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. I am also happy to inform you that His Excellency, the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, who is also the President of the African Union, has kindly agreed to participate in the open debate, given the importance that the topic of maritime security has for Africa.
Speaking on peacekeeping, he said India will be focusing on how to ensure the safety of the peacekeepers, but especially by using better technology.
We will focus on two specific aspects pertaining to peacekeeping. One is how to ensure the safety of peacekeepers by use of technology. And two, how to bring to justice the perpetrators of crimes against peacekeepers. We believe that infusion of appropriate technology can play a significant role in improving the safety and security of the peacekeepers. Use of field focus, reliable and cost-effective new technologies in peacekeeping operations that are driven by practical needs of end users on the ground is the need of the hour. Under the overarching theme of protecting the protectors, the External Affairs Minister of India will be chairing an open debate on the 18th of August on the topic of technology and peacekeeping. It will be held in the Security Council chambers.
While speaking on Afghanistan, he said the Council is closely following peace talks, which will hopefully yield results.
The situation in Afghanistan is of deep concern to all members of the Security Council. And we have seen that in recent dates, the violence is only increasing. And the UN report, in fact, goes on to say that the number of casualties during the period of May to June is, in fact, exceeds the number between January and April. We want to see an independent, peaceful, democratic, and a stable Afghanistan. And India has supported at every opportunity, that can bring peace, security, and stability in Afghanistan. We should address the question of violence and the targeted attacks, and these are of very serious concern, and all violence must come to an end.
India's permanent representative to the UN, T.S. Tirumurti, said that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India and the recent changes are being brought as per the Constitution of India in the region.
Jammu and Kashmir is an integral and inalienable part of India. I think it's important to recognize that, and the issues relating to the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir are internal affairs of India. The changes have been brought through established parliamentary procedures, and it is well within the framework of the Constitution of India to effect these changes. So any change or modification to Article 370, like any other provision of the Constitution, is the sole prerogative of the Parliament of the Republic of India.
In addition, August will feature briefings on countries and regions on the Council's agenda, including one on 12th of August on the situation in Somalia. Briefings on the Middle East will focus on the situations in Yemen on 23rd of August and in Syria on 24th of August. The Council will also hear a briefing on the Israeli-Palestinian situation on 30th of August. With Bureau Inputs, DD India.
Well, let's now get a brief understanding about what exactly is the UNSC and what's going to be India's agenda, especially in this UNSC. You know, the term that India has got for 2 years, how are things going to change? Let's now take a brief look at, to understand what exactly happens in this particular term. See, India's agenda at UNSC on January 1st, 2021, India's 2-year term as the non-permanent member began. What does it do, especially after that particular membership has begun? In August, the presidential term will be India's first chairmanship during its non-permanent membership of UNSC. It doesn't end there. India will once again get an opportunity to chair the council in December next year. That's also going to be the last month of that 2-year term that India has. The nation will be hosting various high-level events, in this particular time that it's there as the non-permanent member there in the UNSC. So many high-level events that India plans to host. Along with that, what agenda has India proposed for its presidency? The 3 main areas of focus, as I mentioned: counter-terrorism, maritime security and peacekeeping, the 3 important things that India sets. Also another thing, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will preside over a UNSC meeting on August 9th. Now let's briefly understand what does UNSC do, why it's such an important. There are 6 main organs of the United Nations, that's UN. One of them is UNSC. It's responsible for ensuring international peace and security. That's the major area of interest. Also approving any changes to the UN Charter. That's why the UN Security Council is such an important position to have. Going ahead, also recommending the admission of new members to the General Assembly. So United Nations Security Council has many important roles to play. Its powers include establishing, enacting international sanctions, peacekeeping operations and authorization of military operations across the world. Another thing, the United Nations Security Council is the only UN agency that has the authority to issue binding resolution for member states. So once ruled in the UNSC, there is not much window of opportunity that the member states can maneuver or find a way out. So clearly, it's an important organization, it's an important tool or an important arm of the United Nations, and it's going to be crucial to understand on how exactly, you know, India's role is going to be. It's a term that one gets for a month, but it is by rotation. Let's now take it forward and try and understand, you know, what does this particular presidency mean, and three important things that the UN representative, you know, India's representative to the UN, T.S. Tirumurthy, clearly talking about maritime security along with counter-terrorism and also the priority areas for India. Let's now get an understanding of what exactly does this mean. We've got Manjeet Puri joining us this evening on World Today. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the program. First things first, you know, the three areas of concern or the three areas of focus that T.S. Tirumurthy has put forward, but would you somewhere feel that when one looks at you know, the broader agendas that India would have, the freedom of navigation, especially in the South China Sea, you know, that's going to receive the bulk of attention, not only from India but also other member states?
Thank you very much. You know, the United Nations Security Council sits at the pinnacle of multilateralism, if I may say so. It's not only the most important rule-making, decision-making body at the UN, but it, in a sense, sets the agenda for international peace and security, interventions in multilateralism and international governance.
Okay.
Membership of the UNSC, even if for 2 years, is therefore very important. And India has become a member at a very critical time when many changes are happening in the world and there are a lot of tension, including in our area, as the permanent representative mentioned, the questions of what is happening in Afghanistan. We now have the presidency for this month. Now, this is a rotational presidency. It moves among the 15 members in alphabetic order. But what does the presidency do? It allows you to do a bit of agenda setting. Much of the Security Council work is, in a sense, routinized. All peacekeeping missions send reports. They come in their routine manner. Global hotspots, they become a case of responding to the situations which have been created in the ground. So many of those things will take place, not just in a routine manner, but in an ad hoc manner as demanded by circumstances. But as the president, you can do a few things, and we are doing them and rightly prioritizing them. Highlight your areas of specific interest vis-a-vis international peace and security, bring them to the global, let me say, chamber, let there be a discussion and see if there can be a certain push in these areas because they are of interest. Secondly, what the Security Council membership as well as the presidency does, it allows you to showcase your strong commitment to multilateralism, which in the case of India is particularly important as we vie for a permanent seat on the Security Council's high table as a permanent member, something for which we have been trying for a long time and our quest continues. So it is an extremely important thing. Now, the three areas that we've identified are areas of great global concern. Let's start with maritime security. You have very rightly said that it is crimes at high seas, narco-terrorism, smuggling, trafficking, each of these is very important, but perhaps most important for global well-being and well-being of the human being is the seaborne trade and therefore free access which allows unhindered use of this global common is particularly important. Now, you know that in the last several months or several years, there have been reports, including in the part of the world where we are geographically located, of there being certain issues. And therefore, it is particularly important that at the Global Chamber of the Security Council, this matter is addressed, and we try and obtain a comprehensive approach which ensures that this global common is accessible to everyone, it is free, it's open, it's unhindered, and that it is inclusive.
Okay.
Secondly, the issue of peacekeeping. Now, India is the largest contributor to UN peacekeeping in aggregate terms. We have an abiding interest in peacekeeping. So when the permanent representative says that we are looking at technological innovations to protect the protectors, that's very important because when the protectors go in to protect the civilian population, by no stretch of imagination should there be an impression that the protectors themselves can be in a way taken hostage or something can be done. So these kind of measures, which are strong but defensive, are extremely important. And I'm glad that India is highlighting the possibilities of using technology for them. The
Okay.
third area that he mentioned was that of counter-terrorism, again, a matter of abiding interest to India. And fourthly, he touched upon Afghanistan. I think that is critical for a country like India, since the going-ons in Afghanistan are in our region, in the
Okay.
geography where we are ourselves located. And therefore, it is particularly of interest to us that these matters remain in the global eye, in the global focus, and the United Nations is the perfect position for that, especially the Security Council.
Okay. When one takes it forward, there are 4 major Asian conflicts that are currently on. And do you somewhere feel that conflict resolution, is going to be one of the top priorities, especially, when it comes to handling the hot seat for the next 1 month?
Conflict resolution, or in a sense, intervening to ensure that conflict doesn't blow over, is
Okay.
the fundamental duty or the mandate of the UN Security Council. And that will certainly be something that the president has to be engaged with.
Okay.
But let's be very clear that in 30 days' time, there is no one who's going to be able to find solutions to long-standing conflicts which have been going on for a long time. But what is important is that in your term and at your time, you do things and act in a manner that finds ways forward and finds solutions to these conflicts, and finds ways and means by which we can intervene such that the conflict is brought down, is diminished, and we try and take things forward. That's particularly important. You heard the mention of situations in the Middle East. They have been going on for decades. The situation in Yemen, it is particularly important that these particular things are debated and then solutions are found in which there is a global buy-in, because that is the kind of persuasiveness that the Security Council can bring without even resort to Chapter 7, peacekeeping, etc. The international persuasion ability, and that's where the role of the president is very critical, to be able to coalesce the most powerful and those who are elected to serve on this body together so that there is a kind of global consensus on way forward.
Mr. Puri, this particular time, the month of August, when India celebrates 75 years of independence, clearly, this particular role as the UNSC president comes at the right time. But do you somewhere feel the Prime Minister's, Prime Minister has always stressed on 5 S's that needs to be taken care of, especially when it comes to the way forward. Do you somewhere feel that this is going to be taken forward, especially as India takes the chair?
I have absolutely no doubt about that. The Honorable Prime Minister of India has been in the forefront of supporting multilateralism. If you look at his statements through the course of last year, especially when the COVID pandemic was raging, he has stressed and repeatedly stressed the need for a reform multilateralism with, of course, reform of the United Nations Security Council. And I therefore say that it is not just in the fitness of things that India is raising maritime security, an issue in which we have an abiding interest of our own.
Okay.
But the fact that the Honorable Prime Minister will be chairing, if first as far as India is concerned, is also completely indicative and absolutely a sign of the fact that India is strongly committed to multilateralism and taking the United Nations route for bettering humankind's situation, its global well-being, etc. I think this is absolutely without saying, and it's an important step and a right step with both its symbolic as well as its substantive values.
Now looking at Prime Minister's, one of Prime Minister's most, closest to his heart initiative, the Sagar initiative, how will India be able to take it forward, especially now at the world stage?
Well, the Honorable Prime Minister is addressing the Security Council, rather he's chairing the session of the Security Council on the 9th of August. This is the session which is essentially devoted towards a comprehensive discussion among these members of the Security Council on the subject of maritime security. It will debate the subject in all its ramifications. Of course, security will be one of the issues. Access, open, inclusive access will be there. Can we build upon the existing frameworks to ensure that crime on the high seas is limited? Can we build on ensuring that the seas remain a global common accessible to all, neither big country nor small are differentiated, and the powerful don't get away? particularly important for us. So what do? We bring together security and well-being. This is important for us, Sagar, a country which has three sides, ocean all around, and with an old tradition of seafaring and building of civilizational links. For us, particularly important, but I think a global imperative, given the nature of global trade, where seaborne trade is certainly the most important.
Mr. Puri, there is also, T.S. Tirumurthy has very clearly said that Jammu and Kashmir is an internal matter of India. Do you see a likelihood, that it could again resurface, especially now that India heads the chair, this could resurface as a point of contention or as a matter of debate?
I not only don't think so, I don't think anybody was allowed to be raised up.
Okay.
It is a matter which was raised many years back, has not featured on the Security Council for years on end, and remains buried in its book somewhere. I think this was in response to a question raised by a journalist in the media briefing. I don't see any such possibility at all, and I dare say that this will at all be countenanced, let alone during our presidency.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this evening on World Today. It was a pleasure having you here on board. Well, moving forward now to our next story there. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has on Monday said that a new U.S. refugee program for U.S. affiliated Afghan poses significant diplomatic, logistic and bureaucratic challenges. Let's take a look at this report.
The crisis in Afghanistan continues. The civilian casualties are increasing. The clashes between Taliban and Afghan forces continue. In the middle of all these, blame is also underway. A major fighting took place in an Afghan city amid fears it could be the first provincial capital to fall to the Taliban. Lashkar Gah in southern Helmand province is under heavy assault from the militants despite persistent US and Afghan airstrikes. Thousands of people are fleeing rural areas. Hundreds of Afghan reinforcements have been deployed to battle the militants. The Taliban have made rapid advances in recent months as US forces have withdrawn after 20 years of military operations in the country. Attempts by the militants to capture Kandahar, Afghanistan's second largest city, have continued after rocket strikes hit its airport on Sunday. Seizing control of Kandahar would be a hugely symbolic victory for the Taliban, giving them a grip on the south of the country. In a third besieged city, Herat in the west, government commandos are battling the insurgents after days of fierce fighting. Government forces have taken back some areas after a UN compound was attacked on Friday. US State Department spokesman Ned Price on August 2nd said the Taliban is responsible for outrageous and atrocious acts of violence.
There's one party that is, in most cases, responsible for the outrageous and atrocious acts of violence that have been perpetrated against the Afghan people, and that's the Taliban. Of course, other terrorist groups, ISIS-K, also active, but we have seen an increase in these ongoing Taliban attacks. They show little regard for human life, for the rights of the Afghan people, including the basic right of the Afghan people to live in safety and security. The targeted killings, the destructions of buildings, of bridges, other vital infrastructure, other violent acts against the people of Afghanistan, we recognize they are in stark contravention to statements from the Taliban leadership. We've seen from the loss of innocent Afghan life and the displacement of Afghans, the civilian population, it is the people of Afghanistan who suffer the most and who bear the brunt of these horrific attacks.
U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Monday said a new U.S. refugee program for U.S.-affiliated Afghans poses significant diplomatic, logistical and bureaucratic challenges.
There is a significant diplomatic, logistical and bureaucratic challenge. We take our responsibility to our Afghan partners deeply seriously. Afghans who worked with the United States or the International Security Assistance Force at some point since 2001 are facing acute fears of persecution or retribution that will likely grow as coalition forces leave the country. We have a special responsibility to these individuals. They stood with us. We will stand with them.
The first group of Afghans who worked for the US government and have been evacuated from Afghanistan arrived in the United States on July 30th. Some 200 Afghans arrived into Dulles International Airport and were bused to Fort Lee in Virginia for medical screenings. The operation to evacuate US-affiliated Afghans and family members comes as the US troop pullout nears completion and government forces struggle to repulse Taliban advances. Taliban were removed from power in Afghanistan by US-led forces in 2001, but the group has gradually regained strength since and is seizing territory again. With bureau inputs, leading India.
Meanwhile, the United States is confident that Iran carried out a drone attack on an Israeli manager tanker transiting through international waters near Oman on Friday. Condemning the attack, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said that a thorough review has been conducted and we are confident that Iran carried out this attack. Tehran, meanwhile, has denied any involvement in the attack on Thursday, in which 2 crew members, a British and a Romanian, were killed. United States and Britain have said on Sunday they would work with their allies to respond to the attack on Mercer Street, a Liberian-flagged, Japanese-owned petroleum product tanker managed by Israeli-owned Zodiac Maritime. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson described the incident as clearly an unacceptable and outrageous attack on commercial shipping.
I want to condemn again the attack on Friday against the commercial ship the Mercer Street, which was peacefully transiting through the North Arabian Sea in international waters when it was targeted by a drone laden with explosives, killing 2 people. We've conducted a thorough review, and we're confident that Iran carried out this attack. It follows a pattern of similar attacks by Iran, including past incidents with explosive drones. There is no justification for this attack on a peaceful vessel, on a commercial mission, in international waters. Iran's action is a direct threat to freedom of navigation and commerce.
Wildfire, rains, floods, extreme heat wave, parts of the world is battling extreme weather. Turkey is bearing the brunt of severe wildfire, pushing the temperature above 40 degrees Celsius. Utah, on the other hand, has been witnessing heavy rain showers. Here's a report on the murky weather across the world.
The world is witnessing adverse weather in many areas. Leaders are discussing ways to combat the pertinent issue of climate change. From wildfire to heavy rainfall to flooding, all are being witnessed. In Turkey, wildfires have been raging for the past several days. Firefighters have been on the war footing to battle the devastating wildfires in the southern resort of Marmaris. Helicopters were dropping water on the flames, ripping through trees and undergrowth. As many as 16 planes and 51 helicopters raced against time to tackle the blazes in 3 coastal towns, Manavgat, Bodrum and Marmaris. The wildfire has been fanned by temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, strong winds and low humidity. The European Union said it had helped mobilize 3 firefighting planes, 1 from Croatia and 2 from Spain joined teams from Russia, Iran, Ukraine and Azerbaijan. Considered to be a hotspot for nightlife and summer parties, the coastline of Bodrum was painted in orange as the blaze raged in the area. Flames and plumes of smoke swept through the forest, forcing firefighters, planes and helicopters as well as locals working to douse the blaze that has been raging for a 6th day. Meteorology maps show areas affected by fires have suffered severe drought in recent months. Huge flames.
Well, at this point of time, let's cut across live to an update there when it comes to India's badminton superstar there, PV Sindhu, getting a grand welcome, returning home after winning a bronze medal there. She's at this point of time at a felicitation ceremony. These are live visuals from that felicitation ceremony. She's there with a lot of dignitaries there, especially Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Anurag Thakur, Union Sports Minister, along with Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Next to her is PV Sindhu, the double medalist, back-to-back Olympics. She's won back-to-back medals for India and brought laurels
सिंधु
for
अब
the
तक
country.
2 मेडल ओलंपिक में जीत चुकी है और पहली भारतीय महिला रही हैं जिन्होंने ओलंपिक में 2 पदक जीते हैं।
Well, this felicitation ceremony, she returned home earlier this afternoon there at the international airport in Delhi, and at this point of time the Union Sports Minister along with MOS Sports and Youth Affairs joining the stage as the felicitation ceremony begins.
Badminton of India, Ms. P.V. Sindhu, her proud parents and family members, and coach Mr. Pak Tai Seng. On this occasion, I would like to welcome Honorable Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable Union Minister for Information Broadcasting, Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Anurag Singh Thakur, Honorable Union Minister of Tourism, Culture and Development of North-East Region, Sri G. Kishan Reddy, Honorable Union Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Nishit Pramanik Ji, Honorable Member of Parliament, Sri Sayam Bapurao, Sri Vandi Sanjay Kumar, Sri Arvind Dharmapuri, and Sri T.G. Venkatesh. Also Secretary Sports and Secretary Youth Affairs. To begin the felicitation, I would like to invite Honorable Union Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Nishit Pramanik Ji, to felicitate Ms. P.V. Sindhu and her coach, Mr. Pak Tai Seng. Sir, I request to say a few words on this occasion. पहले तो आज इस खुशी की माहौल में शामिल होने के लिए मैं बहुत गौरवान्वित महसूस कर रहा हूं और सबसे पहले मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहूंगा भारत की बेटी पीवी सिंधु जी को, जिन्होंने पहली बार ही नहीं, ये दूसरा बार ओलंपिक में भारत की झंडा को और ऊंचा लहराया। और उनके साथ साथ उनकी कोच को भी मैंने बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहूंगा। और आज इस खुशी की माहौल में उपस्थित है भारत की अर्थ मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमण जी, उपस्थित है टूरिज्म मिनिस्टर किशन रेड्डी जी, उपस्थित सभी सांसद वर्ग और उनके साथ साथ भारत की युवा एवं खेल मंत्रालय के मंत्री आदरणीय अनुराग सिंह जी, पीवी सिंधु जी की परिवार का जो सभी सदस्य यहां पर उपस्थित हैं, सभी को मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करना चाहूंगा। और उसके साथ साथ खेल मंत्रालय की सेक्रेटरी एवं यूथ अफेयर्स की सेक्रेटरी भी यहां पर उपस्थित है। सभी को मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। और आज दो शब्द मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि पूरब से लेकर दक्षिण जहां पर भी हम लोग आज देख रहे हैं, भारत में भारत की बेटी की जय जयकार है। टोक्यो ओलंपिक के पहले दिन ही हम लोग ये उपलब्धि किया कि विजय की ताज जो पहले दिन हम लोगों को प्राप्त हुआ, भारत की बेटी मीराबाई चानू जी ने जैसे भारत की झंडा को टोक्यो की मिट्टी पर ऊंचा लहराया, वैसे ही धीरे धीरे हम लोगों को और विजय प्राप्त होगा। और उसको पीवी सिंधु जी ने प्रमाणित कर दिया, भारत की विजय की रथ कभी थामेगा नहीं, यह दौड़ता जाएगा। और जिस प्रकार से हम लोगों ने देखा कि फील्ड पे, बैडमिंटन की कोर्ट पे पीवी सिंधु जी ने जैसा अपना वहां पर डोमिनेट किया, जैसे अपना दबदबा बजाय रखा,
और जैसे वो मैच जीता, मैं सोचता हूं कि वो एक इतिहास है और बहुत सारा जो युवा खिलाड़ी है उन लोगों के लिए एक इतिहास का पन्ना बन के रहेगा और इसलिए मैं उनको बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहूंगा। आज भारत की आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जैसे पूर्व से लेकर दक्षिण जहां पर भी हम लोग देख रहे हैं, वहां पर भी एक एक प्रतिभा को ढूंढ के निकाल के उन लोगों को सभी वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देके विश्व के दरबार में प्रतिष्ठित करने का प्रयास किया जा रहे हैं। और उसी के साथ साथ हमने देखा कि जिस चेयर फॉर इंडिया की शुरुआत आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने किया था, उसको आगे बढ़ाते हुए हमारे युवा कार्यक्रम एवं खेल मंत्रालय के आदरणीय मंत्री अनुराग ठाकुर जी ने भी अपना जो प्रयास है, जो छोटा से छोटा जो जगह है उसको भी नहीं छोड़ा। हमने देखा, हमने ये खुद अनुभव किया और देखा कि उन्होंने एक एक खिलाड़ियों को सी ऑफ करने के लिए एयरपोर्ट तक गया, उन लोगों को प्रोत्साहित करने की काम किया। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जैसे चीयर फॉर इंडिया का नारा लगाया, उन्होंने भी वहां पर पहुंचा, एयरपोर्ट में पहुंचा और चीयर फॉर इंडिया की नारा लगाया। मैंने ये देखा कि दो दो मंत्रालय की काम करते हुए भी, हजारों काम के बीच में भी जब भी उनको फुर्सत मिले तब भी हम लोगों ने देखा, मैंने देखा कि हर एक खिलाड़ियों की खबर वो रखते थे। किसी को कुछ भी थोड़ा सा भी दुविधा हो, कॉस्ट्यूम से लेके कुछ भी, उन्होंने वो समस्या का हल तुरंत करने का प्रयास किया। और मैं सोचता हूं ये भी जितना खिलाड़ी है उन लोगों को प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए एक अनपैरेलल ये प्रयास है। मैं इसलिए उनको भी तहे दिल से धन्यवाद अदा करना चाहता हूं। और भारत की 130 करोड़ जनता जो कि टोक्यो की मिट्टी में उपस्थित नहीं हो पाया, स्टेडियम में उपस्थित नहीं हो पाया, ये सही है, लेकिन यहां से भारत से हर वक्त, हर पल, हर क्षण उन लोगों का जो आशीर्वाद, उन लोगों का जो शुभकामना हर वक्त भारत की प्रतिनिधित्व करने के लिए जो खिलाड़ी टोक्यो में गया है उन लोगों के साथ थे। इसलिए उन लोगों को भी बहुत बहुत मैं धन्यवाद अदा करना चाहता हूं। और मुझे ये विश्वास है कि आगे जाके भारत को और भी विजय प्राप्त होने वाला है। इसलिए मैं फिर से एक बार सभी साथियों को मैं अनुरोध करना चाहूंगा कि आप लोग हमारा जो खिलाड़ी है उन लोगों को प्रोत्साहित करते रहिए। आप लोगों का जो आशीर्वाद है वो देता रहिए। और मैं ये आई एम श्योर दैट कि इंडिया विल राइजिंग एज ए ग्रेट स्पोर्टिंग नेशन एंड आवर एथलीट विल मेक अस प्राउड इन टोक्यो, ये मेरा विश्वास है। और इसी के साथ साथ मैं अपना भारत की बेटी को सुनने के लिए पूरा देश अपेक्षा कर रहा है, उनको मैं भी सुनने के लिए अपेक्षा कर रहा हूं। तो मैं मेरा शब्द को यहीं पर विराम देता हूं। फिर से एक बार बोलना चाहूंगा, चीयर फॉर इंडिया। जय हिंद।
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Honorable Minister Sri G. Kishan Reddy to felicitate Ms. Sindhu. Sorry. I request sir to say a few words on this occasion.
मैं सबसे पहले
पीवी सिंधु जी को, उनके पिताजी को, माताजी को, उनके परिवार को, उसके साथ साथ उनके कोच को हमारे टूरिज्म डिपार्टमेंट की ओर से, कल्चर डिपार्टमेंट की ओर से मैं अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं। और क्योंकि 2 रिकॉर्ड आज सिंधु ने इस ओलंपिक्स के मॉडल के द्वारा स्थापित किया है। एक पहला कंटिन्यूसली 2 जैसा टोक्यो में किया है, उससे पहले रियो में ओलंपिक्स में भी भारत के लिए मेडल रहा है और लगातार लाने वाले भारत के खिलाड़ी में सिंधु जी पहले हैं। उसके साथ साथ महिला, भारत में कोई महिला अभी तक ओलंपिक्स में 2 मेडल नहीं लाए हैं। महिलाओं में 2 मेडल लाने वाला भी आप पहला खिलाड़ी है। इसीलिए 2 रिकॉर्ड भारत के लिए सिंधु जी इस टोक्यो ओलंपिक्स में मेडल लाकर स्थापित किया है। सारी 130 करोड़ जनता के ओर से मैं अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि वो मेरा होम सिटी से है, मेरा कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी से है और తెలుగు ప్రజలందరూ కూడా చాలా మంది తెలుగు వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు ఇక్కడ. తెలుగు ప్రజలందరూ కూడా గర్వపడేటువంటి ముద్దు బిడ్డ, మన తెలుగింటి మరి ఆడబిడ్డ. నువ్వు గెలిచినందుకు నేను తెలుగు ప్రజల తరఫున కూడా, భారత ప్రజల తరఫున కూడా శుభాభినందనలు తెలియజేస్తా ఉన్నాను. తప్పకుండా నీ స్ఫూర్తి మన తెలుగు ప్రజల్లో కానీ భారత ప్రజల్లో కానీ తప్పకుండా వస్తుంది. నీ స్ఫూర్తితో రానున్న రోజుల్లో ఒలింపిక్స్లో భారతదేశము మీ స్ఫూర్తిగా మరి ఈ యొక్క పతాకాలు సాధిస్తారని, తప్పకుండా ఆ దిశలో భారతదేశం ముందుకెళ్తుందని కోరుతూ मैं फिर एक बार मैं पीवी सिंधु जी को अभिनंदन करते हुए, मैं जो मेहनत किया है लगातार पढ़ते रहता हूँ. हर दिन सुबह उठकर जो मेहनत करते हैं, आज जो मेहनत का आज रिजल्ट है, भारत का नाम एक शान बढ़ाते हुए और दूसरी बार टोक्यो ओलंपिक्स में मेडल लाए हैं. मैं फिर एक बार आपको धन्यवाद देता हूं. मेरे को पूरा विश्वास है आने वाले दिन में हमारे यंग एंड डायनेमिक मिनिस्टर स्पोर्ट्स एंड यूथ अफेयर्स हमारे अनुराग ठाकुर जी के नेतृत्व में और अच्छे फैसिलिटीज आने वाले दिन में भारत सरकार सभी क्रीड़ाओं को देंगे. सभी क्रीड़ाकारों को आने वाले दिन में प्रोत्साहन करेंगे. आने वाले दिन में भारत जो प्रयास आज लगातार चल रहे आगे बढ़ते हुए आने वाले ओलंपिक्स में भी आप जाना चाहिए. आने वाले ओलंपिक्स में बिल्कुल हमारे बंगार पतकम गोल्ड मेडल लाना चाहिए. यही सभी लोगों का विश्वास है, मेरा पूरा विश्वास है, क्योंकि 3 साल है. ये 3 साल में हम मेहनत करेंगे, फिर जाएंगे भारत के लिए, फिर एक शान बढ़ाते हुए गोल्ड मेडल लाएंगे. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद. Thank you, sir, for your words of encouragement and appreciation. Now I request Honorable Union Minister of Finance, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, to do the honors. I request you to say a few words on this occasion. Thank you.
What can I say? Today is actually a day when all Indians can derive absolute inspiration and motivation. It's a singular victory for Sindhu. purely her effort, her tireless practices, inner motivation with which she's just gone up to there and struggled to perform. Nothing else can be said as the reason for this victory. It's sheer perseverance of Sindhu. And of course, if I have to add something more, it is the support of the family, the coach who's given her the right kind of instruction, the physio who's here. All this goes towards making a good sports person, which is what she is, and she's repeatedly proved herself. Earlier in Rio, now again. What stands out is the meticulous preparation, the excellence in the ground, to have the grit till the last minute. I was quite touched when I read in the papers that when she really couldn't go further and was slightly disheartened, it was her father who spoke to her the previous evening and said, just go play and you will come back successfully. And that's what made a big difference to her. So the timely support of the family, great coach of today. But then matter of fact, if only I've gone there, so I know what it means. A world-class facility which exists in Gachibowli, where Sindhu has spent a lot of time training herself. So India is capable of doing fantastically well if only the right infrastructure is available. It was available for Sindhu and she made the maximum of it. And in the presence of the sports minister, I would like to say that India requires that kind of a facility to be provided for every sports person. And then it's up to them. They will flourish and grow and exhibit their talent. So that's what governments, that's what federations should concentrate on and not get into the way in which they practice. That's thoroughly their profession. It has got to be left to their judgment. I think in Sindhu's case, every such thing which I've just said now has worked to her favor, and I'm sure she's got great laurels to come even in the future. So I won't take much of her time. Again, being tempted by Kishan Reddy, who spoke in Telugu. Telugu వాళ్ళందరికీ ప్రేరణాదాయకమైన స్పోర్ట్స్ పర్సన్ సింధు. ఇవాళ మహిళలు దేశవ్యాప్తంగా సింధు పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ని చాలా చక్కగా చూశారు, ఆనందం పొందారు. వాళ్ళ ఇళ్లలో ఉన్న పిల్లలకి తను ఒక పెద్ద మోటివేషన్ అనేది అందరం గుర్తించేస్తారు. అందువల్ల Sindhu is just not a badminton medal winner. She is going to stand out as a great inspiration for all of us, even for people like us who don't really go to the track and field to play. But that kind of a perseverance, self-motivation, grit to face challenge, to come with great victory after a completely difficult fight. These are qualities which have to be there in every individual. And therefore I stand up to her to say what an inspiration, what a motivation that she will be for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Now I would like to request Honorable Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Untitled Chapter, to felicitate Ms. P.V. Sindhu and Mr. Park Tyson. I request sir to say a few words on this occasion.
Namaste. Let me first congratulate P.V. Sindhu on behalf of 135 crore Indians. You are youth icon, inspiration, and you caught up to the imagination of millions and millions of athletes who look up to play for the country. You are one of the greatest Olympians India has produced, and you have made all of us proud. You brought the smile on the face of 135 crore Indians. A heartfelt congratulations to PV Sindhu. बहुत बहुत बधाई, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं. मुझे तो दिन याद है जब मैं एयरपोर्ट पे था, पूरे इंडियन कंटिंजेंट को सी ऑफ करने गए थे. When he walked up to me and we talked, I could see the confidence you had. आपके अंदर जो आत्मबल था, जो आप में विश्वास था, वो दिखा रहा था कि आप खाली हाथ वापस नहीं आने वाली. आप खाली हाथ वापस नहीं आई हैं. आप भारत की ऐसी महिला एथलीट हैं जिसने एक नहीं दो ओलंपिक में मेडल भारत को जिताए हैं. भारत की बेटी पर पूरे भारत को गर्व है. आइसक्रीम मैं नहीं खिलाऊंगा. आइसक्रीम माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा है खिलाने के लिए. देखिए, जिस देश के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ये चिंता करते हों कि उनके खिलाड़ियों को सुविधाएं मिले ताकि वो बड़े से बड़ी टीम के साथ, बड़े से बड़े प्लेयर्स के साथ मुकाबला करके मेडल जीत सकें, इसलिए उन्होंने टारगेट ओलंपिक पोडियम स्कीम शुरुआत की, टॉप स्कीम को शुरू किया, जिसके पीछे भावना ये थी कि एलीट एथलीट्स को ट्रेनिंग देके दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में क्यों ना हो, हम उनको वो ताकत दें ताकि वो मेडल जीत कर आए. इसलिए इस बार का कंटिंजेंट सबसे बड़ा था आज तक का, और हमने अपनी ओर से प्रयास किया कि कोई कमी ना रहे. और जब देश के प्रधानमंत्री ये सुनिश्चित करते हैं कि कोई कमी ना रहे, तो उनकी टीम के एक सदस्य होने के नाते हम हर संभव प्रयास करेंगे कि आपको भी और आने वाले खिलाड़ियों को भी किसी तरह की कोई कमी ना रहे. एक और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा, तो जब देश की माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी ने कह दिया कि खेल की सुविधाएं और अच्छी होनी चाहिए, तो मुझे लगता है कि हम अपनी ओर से कोई कमी कहीं पर नहीं रखेंगे. ये हम विश्वास यहां पर दिला सकते हैं. आपके साथ आपके कोच भी आए हैं. मैं तो उस समय मैच के समय भी देख रहा था. जितने रमन्ना जी आपके पिताजी को, आपके परिवार को खुशी हुई होगी, उतनी ही शायद आपके कोच को भी हुई होगी, क्योंकि बचपन में आपने पसीना बहाया तो आज इन्होंने मेहनत करके यहां तक पहुंचाया है. पूरे परिवार को और इनके साथ जुड़े हुए सारी टीम को, स्पोर्ट्स डिपार्टमेंट को, हमारे सेक्रेटरी स्पोर्ट्स, सेक्रेटरी यूथ अफेयर्स भी साथ में आए हैं, माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी, माननीय टूरिज्म कल्चर और नॉर्थ ईस्ट के मंत्री, मेरे एमओ साथ में हैं, निशित जी, हमारे सांसद महोदय सामने हैं. मैं सभी को, आप सभी की ओर से भी पीवी सिंधु जी को बधाई देता हूं. और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी भी जल्दी ही आपको बुलाएंगे. और वो पल, क्योंकि मुझे आज भी याद है, आपने मेडल जीता और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आपको सीधा फोन करके आपको बधाई दी. जिस देश के प्रधानमंत्री इतना चिंता करते हो, खिलाड़ियों का मनोबल बढ़ाते हो, मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है हम सही दिशा में चल रहे हैं और आप एक नई प्रेरणा देश को देने के लिए आगे आई हैं. आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं. जय हिंद.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request the women of the movement, the Shining Star of India, to share the experience of her incredible journey in Olympics.
Respected dignitaries, a very good evening to everyone, especially Kishan Reddy sir, Nirmala ma'am, Anurag sir, and other dignitaries here. It's definitely a proud moment for me and also for the country. Firstly, I would like to thank the government for their support and also the sports authorities, because whenever I asked for anything, they were always, they never said no. I mean, immediately it would have, every time, like, they didn't even take much of time and they said okay for everything. A special thanks to Anurag sir, because I think I remember before going to Olympics, I know the pandemic ke wajah se a lot of people have been suffering, but since we were going for the Olympics, we had to definitely take protocols and make sure everything was fine. So मैंने गच्चीबावली स्टेडियम में प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए I've asked permission and they immediately granted permission. Thank you so much for that, sir. And also I would like to thank each one of them, क्योंकि टोक्यो में I couldn't see a lot of spectator stands, but I'm sure from India billions of people have shown their love, support, and have put in like all the efforts and also their blessings. So I think I dedicate it to all of them, and also my parents here. I would like to thank them. I think their efforts, their sacrifices have have got me till here, and especially my coach, Mr. Park. I've been working with him since more than a year now. I mean, I think his hard work, his dedication, I mean, that has got where we always wanted that dream to come true, and it has come true. And also special thanks to Badminton Association because they've always been there, and also once again to the sports authorities. So I think I can't thank enough because all of your support, all of your encouragement has got me to here. Once again, I thank each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for inspiring the entire nation. Now I request coach of Ms. P.V. Sindhu, Mr. Park Tai-seng, to say a few words on this occasion.
Thank you, sir. Before speech, please understood my English is not enough word. But Sindhu always know my meaning, so I love today I arrived in Delhi airport with so many media, so many fans to receive congratulations. It's my life first time I receive. It's really, my life first time. Yeah. So today it's my honor, so many India ministers, so I'm very happy, and many media also thank you. It's mostly, I would like to say thank you, Sindhu, because yeah, me and Sindhu parents all support team. We little since pandemic, it's very hard time, and training, it's life, also very hard time. But Sindhu always so patient to my teach, so my training, she trying and doing. So today this is good function. So I again thank you so Sindhu. Thank you everyone.
Thank you everyone. With this, we have come to the formal closure of this program. Thank you. Thank you everyone.
तो टोक्यो ओलंपिक कांस्य
Well, live visuals of the felicitation ceremony of Tokyo Games bronze medalist P.V. Sindhu. She is the first woman now to win back-to-back medals at the Olympic Games. A felicitation ceremony. She cherishes, she mentioned, she missed those fans, she missed those wow moments, especially people cheering for her when she was playing. So now she's getting ready for those particular moments in this facilitation ceremony that she's mentioned, and she's looking forward to many more interactions now, especially with the Prime Minister that's scheduled on the 15th of August, that's on Independence Day at Red Fort. Well, that's it in this special broadcast. Thanks for watching. Have a safe and wonderful evening ahead. Bye-bye.